I'm just going to do a quick roll call so we can meet each other as well, see who's here, and then I will hand it over to Edward. He's been kind enough to step in for BJ North. She is out today, unfortunately. She got called away, so he'll be taking over as chair today. So, quick roll call, yes. BJ North, here, Nancy McCormick.
Present. Present.
Sesh Kamiri.
Present.
Okay. Joe Nanini.
Present.
Steve Reed.
Present.
Robert Chisel. Eric Brown. Milton Stewart.
Present.
Edward Estacona.
Present.
Marisa Brax.
Present.
Chris McLean. Joseph Greco. Jennifer Kenny. And Craig Madole. Great. Thank you guys so much. And I'll let Edward take over from here. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. I'd like to call to order the Truckee Meadows Community College Institutional Advisory Council meeting. It is 9:10. So first of all, we've had already Melissa do public roll calls. So at this point, it's public comments. So I'm going to read the statement really quick. Public comments will be taken during the agenda item. No action may be taken or on a matter raised under this item until the matter is included on an agenda as an item of which the action may be taken. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes per person. Persons making comment will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name. The council chair may elect to allow additional public comment on specific agenda item when the agenda item is being considered. So at this point, do we have any public comments? No public comments? So, okay, so at this point, I'd like to introduce a new member to our group, Kai Beverly Graham. Kai, could you please stand up? And just let everybody know a little bit about you and what you do. And
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Kaya. I was recently named as the General Counsel for this institution, as well as for the Desert Research Institute and Western Nevada College. Prior to that, I served as Deputy General Counsel under our prior General Counsel, John Albrecht, who recently retired. Did that for about a year. Before that, I worked for about 12 years in private practice, doing commercial litigation at various law firms. So. In short, I'm the school's lawyer. I'm also here to offer this body any advice as may be needed.
welcome to the team. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 4, approval of the minutes. We have 2 minutes that we have to approve. And Melissa, I need to ask this question. Can we approve in a group or do we need to just do individually per?
That is a fantastic question.
Historically, what I've seen, at least on the state level, they've done it on individually because they want to be very clear about it.
Perfect.
So why don't we do that so starting with the February 25th, 2022 meeting. At this point, everybody's had a chance to look at it. Are there any changes, comments, or conversations around this? Seeing none? Okay, at this point, let's, I need a move for approval of minutes. Can I get one?
I move to approve the minutes of February 25th, 2022.
Oh, really quick, since this is
One
being.
at a time or both?
I want you to state your names because 1, I got Zoomitis and I can't remember names and faces anymore. So, but 2, more for Melissa's sake, she's got to transcribe all this. So if everybody, please, every time you speak, state your name for the record, blah, blah, blah. You know how this goes.
And are we doing this individually or? Yes. Okay, so for the record, Nancy McCormick, I move to approve the minutes from February 25th, 2022.
Looking for a second motion?
I'll second. Joe Nanini.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, moving to May 12th, 2022, approval of minutes. Anybody have any comments or discussions around or changes to the minutes? Seeing none, looking for a motion. Yes?
For the record, Sesh Komori, motion to approve the meeting minutes from Thursday, May 12th, 2022.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Milt Stewart, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. Moving on to item number 5, proposal of 2023 meetings. At this point, we have Thursday, February 9th, Thursday, May 4th, Thursday, September 28th, and Thursday, December 7th. So at this point, is this good with everybody? I would suspect it's so far out, I would hope it's good with everybody. Otherwise, I'm sorry for your schedule. Do we need to get this one approved, these dates? Okay. Seeming that that is good, I need a motion in the room, please, to approve these meeting dates for the future dates.
For the record, Nancy McCormick, I move to approve the proposed 2023 meeting dates.
All right, I have a motion and I need a second.
Milton Stewart, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, item 6, we're cruising. So at this point, this is this section where we're talking about the Community College Institutional Advisory Council Proposal Subcommittee. Now, this was the description in trying to form a subcommittee, so I'm going to read it to you guys. We're going to be requesting volunteers at this point, and
I'm happy to help explain it too.
please do, because this is very institutional.
Yes.
Formation of a subcommittee in which they will work in consultation with the president to submit to the Board of Regents for approval proposal for such a council to include the proposed role of the council, meeting procedures and responsibilities, bylaws, and the number and composition of membership, including the individuals that will serve initially on the council. So, Dr. Hilgerson, please take it away.
Karen Hilgerson for the record. Can everybody hear me okay? I think so. Okay. So, and this is a good segue into my presidential update as well. So at our last meeting in May, you may or may not recall that there was a document related to changing the structure of the IAC and narrowing the role of the IAC predominantly to workforce development. And BJ North sort of brought that forward. I'm very supportive of it, primarily because the major change from my perspective is it provides local flexibility to colleges and the college president on how the IAC can be most helpful. So that went to the June board meeting, and you may or may not recall, but you all said, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Went to the June board meeting, it passed. Part of the passing of that new role clarification for the IACs in the state of Nevada is that in December, we owe NSHE a proposal for how we want to move forward with our structure, kind of our ground. Look at her, she looks great. Yeah. You'll see. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I just had to throw that in. Anyway, so, and so what we want to do, and BJ North and I met a couple of weeks ago and had a good conversation. We would like to form a subcommittee, which BJ would of course serve on, but we think 2 or 3 IAC members, and I'll serve on that as well, to sort of craft a 2 to 3 page document outlining our membership, our constituents, how many times we want to meet per year, any other things that are kind of relevant and pertinent. We have a lot of flexibility now, which is wonderful. The one thing that has not changed, though, and please, Tarina, correct me if I'm wrong, and we'll introduce you in a little bit, is that we still are subject to open meeting law, since the IACs were originally legislated in that fashion, so that will not change. So with that, you can either volunteer today or think about it. Hopefully we don't have to volunteer people to to serve on this little subcommittee. Luckily, my Gretchen, Executive Director of the Foundation and Grants Office, and my special assistant in her copious time is Gretchen Sawyer, and Gretchen's already doing some samples so that we can start with something and then edit it and revise it, and then we would bring it back to this group, ideally at our next meeting, and request further revisions or approval of that new proposal. But we do need to get it to NSHE by December. That's what I understand. So does that help clarify? Sesh?
Couple of questions. So this committee is primarily, the subcommittee is primarily focused at looking at workforce development issues.
No,
Or
the
is it
sub,
for anything.
so the subcommittee is looking at the process. So because basically the IAC processes that used to exist are no longer in existence. And because of the June board meeting where they voted on a new IAC structure. But part of that vote that the regents took was, but in addition, every IAC in the state needs to provide a proposal to us in December about how you're going to function moving forward. So the subcommittee is really, I would call it a bylaw committee or a process committee. Does that make sense? So it's more about the process moving forward, not necessarily about workforce development.
So basically, it's trying to come up with a process that will govern the formation of any subcommittee down the road.
Correct. Yes, I would say yes. If this group wanted to have several subcommittees, which we have not had as part of our process in the past, that would be an appropriate thing to put before this group for a discussion.
So then what are the timeframes? When does it start and when do you need the report by?
Well, we need the new, NSHE is referring to it as a proposal. I think it's easier to think of it as a bylaw that guides our meeting. And they want it by December, and I'm blanking on the date, the precise date. but-
December 31st.
Oh, thank you, December 31st. We have the whole month of December. Yay, yay, and it's only September, yay. So,
We need to have a draft in a month's time.
yeah, pretty much, a month or two, yeah. Nancy, go ahead.
Nancy McCormick for the record. So could you just share a little bit about the reasoning and the process from the regent standpoint? I know a lot of thought and effort was put into the original creation of the IACs, having been here from before that. And so I'm just curious about what was the really, I guess, strategy change all about, or what
Okay.
started that discussion?
So I'm going to have to be very thoughtful in what comes out of my mouth next, okay? So I think the impetus for this is that the Community College Committee of the Board of Regents is no longer in existence. It is being reframed as a workforce committee of the Board of Regents, which aligns with one of the 5 NSHE goals. So there is no more Community College Committee at the Board of Regents. And for those of you who have been around here a long time, a big portion of those community college subcommittee meetings included the IAC chair and IAC reporting. And I'll be honest, it was a bit duplicative. So, I get that. When that sort of direction began, it made sense at that point then to align the IACs with the goal of workforce development. If you look closely at the previous documents and legislation around IACs, it was a much broader committee. It included curriculum, program development that may or may not be workforce, right? It could be anything. It was really designed, I believe, and I wasn't here, but in 2013 or 12, whenever that happened, it looked to me like a local college board, of which I have worked for local college boards, which had a very broad authority over a local community college. So at some point in time, NSHE, and I don't know exactly who or how it started, but a decision was made to narrow the focus of the IACs and the Community College Committee to workforce. And when BJ did bring it in May, I think that sounded pretty good. And I think that's, appropriate, because when you really look back at our agendas, most of what we have focused on has been workforce specific. There were 2 meetings where we did not focus on workforce since I've been here. One meeting focused on the co-requisite model, which is indirectly linked to the workforce. We had another meeting where we invited the liberal arts to present. It was one of my favorite meetings personally because the theater people came and did a wonderful job, right? And so I do think it's important, though, now that we are directed to align with workforce, I do think it's important for us to acknowledge that TMCC continues to be a comprehensive community college. We have an equal number of students engaged in the liberal arts, including the performing and visual arts. We are very proud of that tradition, and that tradition will not wane as long as I'm here, I'll tell you that, because I think it's equally important. But on the other hand, when you look at your expertise, many of you are coming from health careers, and which is considered workforce, and other very workforce-specific programs. So does that help? That might be
It
more
does,
than
thank
you
you.
wanted, but
No,
yeah.
it's helpful, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, Edward Espona for the record. Karin, thank you. So at this point, I am looking for volunteers, so hoping not to voluntold people. Is anybody interested in joining the subcommittee to create this proposal for procedures or process or system moving forward?
Councilor McCormick, for the record, how lengthy do you anticipate this proposal will be, and what kind of a time commitment is necessary in order to take part? And if I heard you correctly, it has to be an IAC member on this committee, or we couldn't designate someone to represent us?
I think it'd be nice to have at least 3 IAC members, and I'll certainly jump in and help, and Gretchen will be helping. Gretchen and I are hoping we can do this in a 2 to 3 page document, and so is BJ North. We would like to keep this very, very concise. So we anticipate maybe 1 meeting prior to the next meeting of this body, maybe 2 at the most. Some of this can even be done over email. And yeah, so.
For the record, Nancy McCormick, I'll volunteer.
Quick question, do we have any template for this kind of stuff? Or do we start from scratch?
The template that we've been looking at is actually the bylaws of the TMCC Foundation. There's actually some parallels there, which we think will be really helpful. Oh, Gretchen's here. Oh, I was looking, I thought, where did she go?
Where is she?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and Gretchen Sawyer for the record, we have some examples of bylaws that I think will be very helpful to use to start with. So that's something that I can easily share with the committee. And then Mindy Lockshin was not able to be here today, but I have spoken with her and she has volunteered to serve on the committee.
So we have
Nancy and.
Nancy, and we have Mindy,
Edward, Marisa Brown, for the record, I would like to volunteer.
and we have Marissa Brown.
That's great. And then we have BJ too, so that'll be great.
All right, at that point, nobody needs to be voluntold, so we can move forward. All right,
Just for 1 second, you're up for picture day. Sorry.
For picture day.
smile, Milt. All right, moving on to item 7 on the agenda, President's update. President Helgerson, can you please give us your update?
Yes, thank you very much. Karin Hilgersson for the record. And one of the updates I just gave about the June meeting related specifically to the IACs, but I do have a few others. The first item on your agenda was IAC changes. So I think we've already covered that, and thank you very much. And it's great that we have so many volunteers. That's wonderful. The other thing that happened at the June meeting was I did the annual TMCC performance metrics presentation. And that is about a 45-minute presentation with time for questions. Well, I do it in about 22 minutes, and then there's a little bit of time for questions. I think it went very well. I think a few of the takeaways in that presentation really are the fact that we are coming out of the pandemic, that we did lose a significant amount of enrollment during the pandemic, but I'm happy to report that things are starting to turn around this semester. So the last time I checked, we were at 9,800 head count, which is at last year's level, but we still have a few hundred apprenticeship that will be coming through the pipeline this year. So now I'm guessing that we will end the year ideally a little bit up from last year, which shows that the trend line will reverse. And my guess is that next year, and again, this is the Karin Hilgersum 35-year, 36-year in community colleges guesstimate, that people are going to come back, and next fall we will see a definite uptick. So I'm very optimistic. I think it's pretty clear that TMCC students, the majority of whom are part-time, 70% of our students are part-time, so they take 9 credits as opposed to 12, very common. They have families, they have part-time jobs or full-time jobs. So I think the pandemic was particularly difficult for them, and I think now they're finding their footing and they're coming back, and we are thrilled. There is a lot of face-to-face stuff happening once again on campus. It was fun that parking was a little bit of an issue at the beginning of the term. I never thought I'd be so pleased to see people searching for parking spots. We are just really delighted on that note. So things are really kind of rocking and rolling, and the energy is returning, and I just couldn't be more pleased. So the performance metrics presentation, I think, went pretty well. There were a couple of fun things to announce, too. A veterinarian technician or veterinarian nursing faculty member, Julie McMahon, won a National Teacher of the Year award from the Veterinarian Tech Nursing Association. So that was really exciting. Our Veterans Upward Bound grant was also renewed. We've had it for 34 years, so it'll be renewed for another 5, which is yay, that's so exciting. And it's a multi-million-dollar grant that spans 5 years. Not only does it provide services for veterans in the Reno-Sparks area, but it provides services in, I believe, a tri-state region. I mean, it covers a big swath of the western United States. And kudos to Robert Hernandez, who continues to do a stellar job with help from Adine Stormont, who is also kind of his right-hand woman. So, yeah, so we were just really thrilled to get that grant renewed. Our TRIO grant is meeting all its targets. That's directly below us downstairs. It's just a wonderful grant. I wish we could scale it up. It serves about 140 students. I wish we could use that same structure to serve 1,000, but as you can imagine, we would need to increase the staffing by about 9% or 9-fold, and the grant doesn't really cover that. So. Legislative advocacy, okay, we have just begun in earnest. At the June board meeting, the board did kind of reaffirm their priorities. And as we move closer to the start of the session, which is early February, we will give you some talking points related to the things that are crucial to TMCC. We did have a meeting with the governor this week, and on Monday, had very short notice, but it was a really good meeting. I was very pleased with the governor's listening skills, because we did tell him what we needed, and because if we don't get some of the extra NSHE request funded, this budget will be cut by approximately 17% on the state side, starting in July of 2023. So imagine that. The state budget is around almost $33 million. If we don't get some of the special items we are requesting, and I'll go over that with you at the next meeting as we get closer to the starting bell, we will be cut by 17%. That is awful, all right? And so it's very difficult to sustain health career and workforce programs with those kind of cuts looming. So stay tuned. I mean, there's still time. We signaled the alarm bell for the governor with the governor, and so he heard us, and we'll see what happens at that point. Hello. Hi, you are?
I'm Sangda Yankyo, representing Washington.
Oh, very good. Hi, have a seat. Welcome.
Okay, where shall I sit?
Right there's perfect.
Yes, anywhere you like, and maybe Edward in a minute will have. Yes, a new introduction. Okay, so I think that concludes my updates and the fact that, and I put fall semester on here just because of how fun it's been to start getting back to normal again. It's really thrilling. And the other thing I should not fail to mention, at 9 a.m., starting at 9, there is a vaccination clinic right here at TMCC. So if you haven't had your latest shot for COVID, you can get it right here today at TMCC. So I'm just saying. Anyway, all right, thank you so much.
Dr. Hilgesum, for the record, Nancy McCormick. Quick question. Are you also meeting with prospective candidates for governor to talk with them about the situation and your concerns in the event that for some reason the current governor is not reelected?
Probably.
Just to make sure that
Yes.
the word is out.
Right, right.
Regardless of what happens at the state.
Yes, I understand. Yes. Does that help?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Edward Estepona for the record. Any other questions or for Dr. Hilgeson at this point from her updates? All right. We are going to move to item 8 on the agenda. We have an update from the interim Vice Chancellor of Academic and Student Affairs. In place, we have Tarina Caserdo here with those updates.
And Edward, should we introduce our 2 additional members?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yes. Can we get additional members? Which
I was blanking on the name. I'm not sure I heard it, but I know you're Washoe County School District, so sorry.
I need to.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Yes, my name is Dr. Sangdao Yang Kyo. I'm the Deputy Superintendent for Washoe County School District.
So, so your first name is Dr. Sen?
You can call me Sang.
Sang.
My full first name is Sang Dao, and then my last name is Kyo. So feel
Sang
free to-
Dao.
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. And then do you want just a brief?
Sure.
Okay. Very briefly, I grew up in the state of Nevada, went K through 3rd grade in the public education system in Round Mountain, Nevada, which is Nye County, and then did 3rd grade to 12th grade in Clark County, graduating from Chaparral High School. And it's an honor and pleasure to work with you all. I'm very excited to learn from this team and to support these efforts. I grew up as a low-income first-generation middle school graduate, which is very common for my ethnic community. I'm Hmong American, and so was kind of amongst the first to graduate from college, so I do actually understand how important it is for us to have really strong supports for students, especially from the most vulnerable communities. So I'm really excited to be a part of this work.
Oh, fabulous.
Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome, we're really glad to have you here. And just a quick housekeeping, it's picture day today, just because you missed that in the beginning. So Sesh is actually going to be our last one, so once he comes back, then if you wouldn't mind, you'll head out here right next door. Yeah, and it'll be all set up for you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Continuing on to item 8. Tarina, please give us an update.
Yes, for the record, Tarina Caserto, Senior Analyst with System Administration, Academic and Student Affairs, standing in for Interim Vice Chancellor Renee Davis, for Vice Chancellor for Academic Student Affairs and Community Colleges, which is a mouthful, but I wanted to make sure that I presented that correctly because that Community Colleges is now part of her department. So just a few quick updates this morning. Actually, the first one I was going to give was going to be on the Institutional Advisory Councils, which President Hilgersum already went over, but just to underscore what she reviewed. Basically, the revision was approved in June 2022, and it gives the president the broad authority to build the IAC how best supports the institution, and I think that's the most important part there. And yes, the proposal is due by, once again, December 31st, 2022, and she will be sending out more information on that also. Second thing is the Sandy grant. The system office continues to work with GoWin and the 4 community colleges on the Sandy grant. Each of the community college campuses has a Sandy grant navigator on campus that helps the students access the Sandy funding for short-term workforce programs at the institution. We are in the process of actually replacing the Sandy grant coordinator at the system office, but in the meantime, that is being covered, those duties, that role is being covered by Danielle Donato, who is also our MGM Senior Learning Concierge for that program. Next is the Workforce Incentive Grant. When Interim Vice Chancellor was here last, I think she spoke a little bit about that Workforce Incentive Grant. And that was presented and approved by the IFC in August. And so Jose Quiroga with our office is going to be working with the community colleges financial aid directors to prepare to launch that in spring of 2023, so that's just around the corner. Funding will be available for spring 2023 and then fall 2023, and then determining how the use of those funds go. There may be some available spring 2024. So the institutions, as a reminder, the institutions determined the list of programs they were offering, which were in-demand occupations for their region, credit-based, and eligible for traditional student aid. So each institution has a list of programs they're offering with that Workforce Incentive Grant. Let's talk a little bit about some changes in our office. I just mentioned that the Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs is now Vice Chancellor for Academic, Student Affairs, and Community Colleges, and that there is a search going for an Assistant Vice Chancellor for Workforce Development and Community Colleges that will work with Renee Davis. And that search is going quite well. They had quite a robust set of applicants, and they should be starting their interviewing probably at the beginning of October. And then one last update, the systems apprenticeship team is getting ready to launch a new apprenticeship program for IT professionals, and more information will be coming out on that. And that will conclude my updates today. Thank you so much for inviting us here.
Edward Espona for record. Tarina, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments for Tarina? All right, hearing none. Moving forward to Faculty Senate with update with Amy Kavanaugh.
Hello, thank you. Faculty Senate completed the revisions to our annual plan and evaluation process that we worked on quite a lot last year. So all of those revisions were approved and finalized, and all the forms were updated for this year's evaluation cycle. We also approved some updates to our emeritus policy for faculty who want to apply for faculty for emeritus status. So it sort of simplifies the process and includes a verification process from HR for how many years of service they have towards that. Numerous new courses were approved in technical sciences areas, in construction and architecture and refrigeration and wonderful things, and a lot of revisions to many of those certificate programs and apprenticeship programs were approved at the last Faculty Senate. Some major projects we're going to be working on this year. One of our biggest projects is going to be figuring out the procedures and regulations around converting our tenure binders to a digital binder instead of the big giant massive paper that we submit every year as part of our year of sustainability. We're trying to move towards more sustainable processes, but there are then many technical considerations that of course arise when switching from a physical binder to a digital binder, including how will it be stored, and how will it be secured, and how can we include all the many things in the binder that we need to include. So that's going to be a big part of the process this year. Another major project we're going to be taking on is forming sort of a joint task force of a couple of our committees to work on proposing some sort of a process for faculty to get more raises internally. It's, as you can imagine, a crucial issue for faculty, especially as that inflation continues to soar. And then we're also considering some bylaw changes to alter the term limits. One potential effect of that would be that part-time faculty would end up being allowed to serve for the same number of years on the Senate as full-time faculty currently do. So that's a revision we're looking at. And that is what we're up to so far this year. Thank you.
Edward, as the punter of record. Thank you, Amy. Any questions for Amy? All right. Seeing none. Moving on to the update with the Classified Council with Tina May.
Hi there, for the record, Tina May. And since the last IAC meeting, Classified Council has held a successful 3-day in-person classified symposium over the course of those 3 days. Our theme this year supported mental and physical wellness. We did some yoga, went on a hike, learned some self-defense, and about our personality traits and a lot more. It was nice to gather and reconnect with our colleagues. We're also busy awarding our Employee of the Month. We awarded Nicole Tuxton from Public Safety for the month of May, Carla Bardas from Accounting Services for the month of June, and Alex Matheson from Maintenance for the month of July. The August Employee of the Month has been selected and will be presented with their award in the coming days. Classified Council will be holding our annual Spooktacular Decorating Contest. Judgment Day will be October 27th, and please be awarded, and prizes will be awarded for first, second, and third place. And we are also planning to hold our annual turkey and ham raffle, as well as our silent auction. These events help fund Classified Council events and scholarship. And that is it.
Edward, that's the point of record. Tina, thank you. Any questions for Tina? All right. Seeing none, moving on to the updates with Student Government Association. John Fenton.
He is not here. I'm not sure why. I've been texting everybody. I'm so sorry.
No problem. If he comes, we will pick it up. But in the meantime, let's move on to item 9, some presentation discussion. So based on our last meeting, we had asked Milt to talk about some exciting things going on with his organization. And so Milt has provided us with a presentation. So I'm going to turn it over to Milt Stewart with Nevada Works and have him have the floor to present.
Thank you. Melissa, am I coming up there?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'll move this over so they can see the presentation.
Wherever you would like to
Okay.
stand. And Dr. Clicker, and then let me know when you want me to bring up the other documentation.
Okay, thanks. So thanks for your time this morning. My name is Milt Stewart. I'm the CEO for Nevada Works. And just wanted to give this group an idea of what it is that we do so that we can determine how we can leverage the work that we do through this committee.
Uh-oh.
Got it.
Oh, okay.
So we start from the premise that a strong workforce is the key to a vibrant and diverse economy. And Nevada Works, as a local board, is here to help. So we have two sets of customers, primary sets of customers, employers and job seekers. So for job seekers, we're really looking to, one of the mandates that we have is that we target those that are underserved or that have barriers to employment. So we want to make sure that those job seekers have more stability in their lives so that they're able to either go through training or get employment. Through the services that we offer, one of the goals is to increase the earning potential for those individuals, and that can be done for anybody who's an entry level all the way up to some upskilling, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And we want to maximize their success and put them on career pathways and or advance them on career pathways. At the same time, we're identifying employers' needs through, because the employers need a skilled workforce, they're looking for that competitive edge in the marketplace, and they want their business to succeed. So this is our newly developed mission statement, which is to provide the best workforce solutions fulfilling needs of employers and job seekers. Pretty straight to the point. That gives us a lot of space to figure out what the needs are on both sides and to fulfill them. Nevada Works is created through federal legislation called the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. The initials WIOA, or if you've heard it before, it's WIOA, it's commonly called. It was signed into law in 2014, and it provides funding for the workforce system And so the federal funding starts at the Department of Labor. Through a formula, it gets allocated to states, and then through that same formula, it gets allocated to the local workforce boards. In Nevada, there are 2 local workforce boards, Nevada Works here in the north, and Workforce Connections in the south. So our structure is we are governed by a board, and myself and the employees that work for me are staffed to that board. And so the board, when the 2 parts meet together, it's an Nevada Works board, they decide policy, set the direction, and that board is comprised of 2 entities. One is the Nevada Works Local Elected Officials Council. There's 1 representative from each county, and those counties actually have the fiduciary responsibility for the dollars. And so 13 counties, 13 LEOs, local elected officials. The council is mandated to include representatives from business, labor, education, nonprofits, economic development, things of this nature. And we're mandated also that split needs to be a minimum of, or at least 50% business, so that we're getting that employer input into the policies and or the direction that the board would go. And then again, staff, we administer the funds, we're very compliance oriented in many ways, monitor and training employment programs. And we also oversee the One-Stop Employment Center, which is our comprehensive center is here in Reno at the Reno Town Mall. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. So again, Nevada Works Board is composed of the 2. We also have what's called a Youth Council, or the technical term is a Standing Youth Committee. And that is chaired by a board member. Currently it's Leslie Mix from Sierra Nevada Job Corps. And then it's the other members are other workforce stakeholders that deal with youth. And so we're actually in the process, Leslie is kind of reimagining what that Youth Council does and can do within the purview of the overall board, trying to figure out, hey, what do we want this Youth Council to do? What would their authority be? What would their purview be? And so it also consists of other stakeholders. We have some youth service providers there. We have some educational K-12 educational institutions there. So we can have those conversations about youth because serving youth is different than serving the adults and dislocated workers that we typically serve. And then again, that board helps set the direction for the workforce efforts. So the green is the area that we cover. Again, 13 counties, they're listed here. It's easier to tell you the ones we don't cover. Lincoln, Nye, Esmeralda, and Clark we don't cover, so the southeast corner. We cover the rest of the state, 70,000 square miles, 13 counties. So our goal is to be the hub for workforce development in Northern Nevada. And really, one of the primary things that we want to do in that role is to be a convener. And we want to convene organizations like this, educational institutions, training providers, community-based organizations, economic development authorities, so that we can have the right conversation. And we all know the silo term, right? But the way that I look at this is, yes, there are silos, and many times that's a function of funding, right? So my approach to this is, yeah, we're going to recognize that there are those, that everybody kind of has their own authority and their own mandates, but let's leverage what everybody does well. And so let's have that conversation. If there's one organization that does something particularly well, we don't want to duplicate that. We want to engage with them, collaborate with them, leverage the resources that they have, braid it with our resources, so that we can convene again and be that hub for our community. So because we have the employers and the job seekers, what we're really trying to do here is create a talent pipeline. And so we do that through aggregating supply talent pools. And so here, these are some of the targets: dislocated workers, apprenticeships, veterans, and overall individuals with barriers to employment. And then through career development, which can be occupational skills training, can be work-based learning, increase employability skills, and then that wraparound supportive services that we can provide and case management support meet the sector-based demand And our primary focus is manufacturing, information technology, healthcare, and logistics. We will support, obviously, all of the employers out there and all of the sectors that are out there, but this is our main focus at this point. So this is our approach. We implement the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, recognizing employer demands and creating that skilled workforce. We integrate our programs with the private sector needs through economic and community development issues. Again, we're trying to strengthen the local economy by building this skilled workforce. And as I mentioned before, we want to leverage and integrate resources so that we can maximize effectiveness. So Nevada Works has, of course, we always wish we had more, but we have roughly $5 to $6 million on any given year to serve the entire area. So can get stretched a little bit thin, but we actually, as Nevada Works staff, we don't provide the services to the individual customers, the participants. We actually subcontract with what we call service providers, and they do that direct client interaction. So our staff is mostly administrative in nature. We can also provide support to become a training provider. So TMCC, for example, has multiple programs, both credit and non-credit, on the eligible training provider list, which makes them eligible for WIO dollars. And then we support launching registered apprenticeship programs. We actually have one apprenticeship program that we currently fund through the Northern Nevada Electrical Apprentice. I've had multiple conversations with Cheryl Olson from NSHE on how we can expand what apprenticeship looks like and leverage and braid those services, those apprenticeships into what we're currently doing. So our one-stop employment center is at the Reno Town Mall, and it provides in-person and virtual support for job seekers, job training, and employers. So if you haven't been there, we welcome you to take a tour. And so what it looks like physically is that we actually have two different offices. Upstairs is for job seekers and downstairs is for employers. That was more a function of space than it was anything else when we actually rolled this out. But it does have its, it does help us to route individuals and businesses to the right area and meet their needs a little bit more effectively. So upstairs, again, the job seeker services. So we're providing career advising services, help with job searches, occupational training, paid work experiences, and support during job training. And the structure of the comprehensive center is such that there are mandated partners through the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. There's a total of 17. We currently have 5 at the center, and we have linkages to the other 12. And so what that looks like is, for a job seeker, is they walk in the door, they first get asked if they're veterans. Veterans have prior to service, so they would go to the top of the line. And then they're handed a tablet where they can self-assess. And so there's 15 to 20 questions on that to help identify, what are you here for today? What are your barriers to employment? How might we address those while you're here today? So that information goes into a queue. Then they're routed based on the criticality of needs. So if there's certain things that have to be addressed first, again, from a stability perspective, we want to make sure that we get them on that, in that process and on that continuum so that we can help them. The partners that are in the center, Title I, Nevada Works, we have adult dislocated worker and youth services available through there. The adult and dislocated worker services are currently provided by Join, and the youth services are currently provided by Northern Nevada Literacy Council. We also have Title II. Title II is adult basic education, and TMCC is actually the representative at the One Stop Center for Title II. Title III is career services, and those services are provided by Dieter. And then Title IV, vocational rehabilitation, that is also Dieter, they're on site. And we also have a DHHS representative on site for individuals who might need SNAP or TANF, so that we can actually, even though they're in the parking lot out back, we want to connect them as easily as possible. So we have one of those representatives on site as well. Downstairs is the business services, and so we've gone through a couple iterations of what that name is. So in the South, they had these organizations called Employee NV Business Hubs, and so there were conversations about how might the North do the same thing. So as I engaged with Vita, realized we really are doing the same thing, we're just not calling them that name. So we engaged with Dieter and said, yeah, let's call these employee and business hubs in the north. And so what these employee and business hubs are, this one-stop shop for employers. And so an employer can come in, and if they need to post a job, if they need exposure, if they need an interview room, if they need a training room, if they need whatever supports that a business might need can all be provided there, and that's all free of charge. They just come in and John Perel's group, takes them by the hand and walks them through. They also reimagined what their delivery of service looks like. So instead of it, build it, we will come, they actually have a mobile type of structure now, where they take their laptops and if is a place that they can get Wi-Fi, Starbucks, the individual location, whatever it would be, they're really using that as that hub so that their staff is not just located at that center. They actually will go out into the community and serve that way. So as we continued that conversation about the Employee and Business Hub, we really expanded it to, again in the South, they had what they called Employee and Career Hubs. So we said, why don't we make a statewide brand that whether you're in the South, whether you're in the North, it's the same name, and so we can really coordinate efforts under that. So worked with Dieter and with Jaime Cruz at Workforce Connections and came up with a plan that our one-stop center here in the north, the upstairs will be called the Employee and Career Hub, the downstairs will be called the Employee and Business Hub, and we also have what's called affiliate sites throughout the rural communities, which were branded as Job Connect offices. We're going to rebrand those as Employee and Career and Business Hubs, so we can really create this cohesion from the outside and sometimes even from the inside, right? So people who are in workforce really sometimes don't understand what the names mean, what the organizations look like. So to that end, we are actually having a grand reopening at that one-stop center on October 20th. And so what we want to do at that grand reopening is really highlight the services, reintroduce ourselves to the community, highlight the services that we provide, again, highlight the fact that they're at no cost, and then give a taste of what the Employee and Hub rebranding would look like. So I'll make sure that everybody has an invitation. It is the 20th, we're still working on October 20th, we're still working on the time. We're trying to get the governor to attend, and so we're really trying to work around his schedule. So that's what the centers look like. I did not also mention that upstairs in the job center there's a resource center, which has 30 computers, which are available for folks to create resumes, do their own job search. There's a monitor there that can help them navigate through the system. We're also working on getting basic computer literacy courses through the One Stop Center, and then also some workshops for resume writing and for job seeking and those types of things. So we can get people into that center, understand what we do there, and create more of an energy or a buzz at that center. And as I mentioned, employer resources, on-the-job training, we can help with apprenticeships, they help with job postings downstairs, labor market information, and access to Employee NV database. And maybe I should mention what Employee NV is. So Employee NV is the master system that's used by the state. It's used by Title I, so it's used by Nevada Works and Workforce Connections. It's used by Title III, and it has interfaces with some of the other titles so that we have, as best we can at this point, a master system that really helps to get everybody into one system so that we can see how they're being served. So the best way to think of Employee NV for our purposes is it's similar to Indeed, in as much as that you can post jobs there, people can do job searches. There is a case management structure in there for workforce partners to use, but outward facing from an employer or a job seeker perspective is very similar to Indeed. So that's where, yes, please.
So I'm on the employer resources, so that would be on the first floor.
Correct.
And are they, who is tasked with working with those employers, and do the employers usually just drop in? I'm just trying to visualize how that employer piece works.
Sure. So employers drop in,
Okay.
or make appointments, and or the Employee NV Business Hub staff go out into the community. They also help to, one of the nice things about being at that Reno Town Mall is that the common space is available for job fairs, for career resource center fairs and those types of things. So collectively, we'll hold job fairs there. The Office of Small Business Administration, we offered that space to them. They held an event there. And so it's really nice to have that common space so that we can, again, bring job seekers and or employers into the center. But it's not limited to, just coming in, particularly from the employer perspective. And so, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Good. Nancy McCormick for the record. Would it be accurate to say that predominantly it is hourly workers that we're talking about, hourly wage workers that are being served as the majority that is being served hourly workers versus salaried workers?
So I don't know the split on that. We can certainly get that information. I know that there is an aspect to that, but I don't know that they necessarily focus on one versus the other.
I just have found generally that the employers may not be coming in to meet with the teams to talk about their salaried workers. They're really looking and posting positions that are the hourly types of workers.
Sure. So John Perrell would be best able to speak to that. So one of the things that we did, again, is we have these two sets of customers that I've mentioned a couple of times. So with our limited resources, we do not want to duplicate that effort through Nevada Works. So what we have done, particularly since I've come on board about a year ago, is to have very conversations with the Business Solutions Group, with the Employee Business Hubs, to align their work with Nevada Works work and to be intentional about what that looks like. So Nancy, I hear what you're saying, and we have engaged in those conversations.
Yeah, and it's fine. I just was trying to help get a sense of the clients that are typically
Sure.
engaging in person.
So there is a, and again, I can't quantify this, but there is a, certain percentage that is getting people a job, right? Like, I need a job today. And so that happens. But when somebody comes into the one-stop center, particularly upstairs, and through that self-assessment, we can identify, are they just looking for that job that I need right now and who would serve them? Or are they looking to get on a career pathway or move forward on a career pathway, and then who would serve them that way? So I don't know how to quantify that question, but point taken. So Nevada Works, so as I just mentioned, I came on board about a year ago, and Nevada Works, prior to me being the CEO, was very compliance oriented, very check the box oriented. That's no disrespect to anybody involved, that's just the way that things were. And there were very little conversations about strategy and how do we, take our mandate and really be effective or impactful in our communities. So we have started those conversations. Nevada Works has developed a strategic planning subcommittee, and we've had a few meetings, and some of the strategies and goals that we've come up with at this point are to increase awareness and outreach, because there's many people out there that aren't aware of who we are and or that one-stop center, again, like what we just talked about. Recruitment and retention, always continuous improvement, so we're not satisfied with where we are at any given point. We want to make sure that we identify regional workforce needs, cover 13 counties, so that's a lot of area to make sure that we're identifying those needs, sourcing new funds, and I'm going to get to that in just a minute, and then always investing in workforce solutions. Adult dislocated programs, these are the current providers that we have: Community Chest, Community Services Agency, Join, and Ridge House, and that's throughout the 13 counties. Out of school youth partners, Community Chest, Community Services Agency, Join, and then EJTC, like I mentioned before, and Northern Nevada Literacy Council. We also were fortunate enough to get some national dislocated worker grants from the U.S. Department of Labor, and so these are the organizations, mostly the same organizations. We were able to add back in Nevada Hospital Association and the University of Nevada, Reno, their CASAT program. So additional funding. So Nevada Works applied for a Good Jobs Challenge grant through the U.S. Department of Commerce EDA. And the intent of that, or what they were looking for, was creating regional training, workforce development training systems that are based on employer needs, right? And so that sounds right? I mean, that, everybody hears that and say, yeah, that sounds right. So they were really looking for partnerships, leveraging, braiding, and serving underserved communities. And so we were fortunate to be one of the 32 nationally that received the award. It's a 3-year award. It's just under $15 million. We wrote into our plan 2 subplans, one for the tribes and another for far eastern Nevada, Wells and West Wendover. So to help get to some of those rural and or tribal communities. And this was really possible, and it was only possible through the engagement with local government, public and higher education, tribal and labor leaders and employers. And TMCC was instrumental in helping us. And we actually have 4 backbone organizations. We identified 4 sectors. Those sectors are manufacturing. Nevada Industry Excellence is the backbone organization. Information technology, EDON is the backbone organization. Logistics, TMCC is the backbone organization. And healthcare, Nevada Hospital Association is the backbone organization. So we feel we have a really good structure there. This grant is a little bit different than a lot of grants, at least that we've had experience with, in as much as that our experience usually is, you gotta have this turnkey and ready to go as soon as you get the money. Well, this grant, because they're really trying to be innovative and intentional about what this looks, they've given us space to develop what this looks like inside the grant.
Yay!
Yeah. So they gave us the first year. We're hoping to only take 6 months at the outside, 9 months. One of the things that we are working on is Department of Commerce money is new for us, and this grant is new for EDA. So there's a lot of kind of learning as we go along here that's involved. So we're working through that. We're really excited. We've engaged with the Sandy grant that was mentioned earlier. We've engaged with the Sandy grant so we can help leverage the networks that they've created throughout particularly in the rural communities with the libraries. As I mentioned before, we're including the apprenticeship, so Cheryl Olson has been involved and will continue to be involved. And then the 3 community colleges in our region, so TMCC, WNC, and GBC are involved. And we're working through and starting to have those more specific conversations on what that looks like. So I saw Gretchen on the way in, and so we connected, and we're going to continue to have that conversation. I want to mention a couple other things real quickly. We also were fortunate enough to receive $500,000 from DETR, Department of Employment, Training and Education, Rehabilitation. I don't have a slide for this, but it's for incumbent worker training. And so in a nutshell, the objective is to take individuals who are already employees and to work with their employers to see what kind of skills that they need to, and ideally what we're hoping for is to achieve a wage increase and or a promotion, so we can then backfill those positions. So we have $500,000 for that. It's a 2-year grant. We think we're going to spend it well before the 2-year period. And we are very, very close to rolling that out and hoping to roll it out by the end of the month. And with that, I will entertain any questions. I've rambled on long enough.
Actually, Milt, this has been great, so thank you. And you and I have talked about Nevada Works, but I feel like I really understand it now. I think the visuals really helped. So on the DETR grant, can that be used to cover tuition for incumbent workers?
It's for tuition, it's
good.
for supports, it's for, if an employer has a specific need, let's say they need to train 10 people on a machine that they have,
Right.
Then we can actually cover instructor costs as well.
Okay.
The employer's skin in the game here is that they have to pay the employee's wage while they're in training.
Oh, cool.
Because a lot of times we hear, I'd love to train, but I have to work. And so
Right.
this is to help mitigate that.
Yeah.
And so, there'll be some self-policing of what this looks like by the employers, right? Because they want
Right.
to be mindful of what that looks like. But yeah, absolutely.
Remember TMCC, always here to help.
So what we envision this structure, there are likely to be training programs that already exist, that they don't have to be on the TPL, but that's where we would go to first. And so if we have an organization that says, I need some IT skills or manufacturing, whatever it happens to be, then we would say, hey, look at the ETPL, what classes work on there, and then use that as a training. Yes. I'm sorry.
For the record, Nancy McCormick. So just to help provide an example that just came up in a meeting 2 days ago, one of the companies that moved here about a year ago that is expanding significantly had asked for or shared that to get some people to move up the chain in the business, these people needed to have more basic functioning skills, computer skills, and needed to learn the Microsoft Office suite, needed to be able to track progress of their project or quality metrics in Excel or even on pivot tables. And so it's the perfect example of, in the past, those training needs were having to be paid for by the company, or they were trying to do them themselves. And they were just talking about needing things like financial literacy for their employees to help them to be able to manage that part of their life while working, as well as these computer skills, as well as reporting and, more administrative and tracking skills. And so that's where this is a perfect opportunity to be able to fill those needs for employers.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy. And we're really looking to use this as a pilot. We're using Dieter's money here as a pilot, and they're grateful and they're thankful for this collaboration. Because we can actually do this with our WIOA dollars, but we historically have not. So I feel like this is an opportunity to show our board, hey, look, this works, so that we might then be able to say, hey, we should carve out a portion of our WIOA dollars for incumbent worker training moving forward. So thank you. Any other questions? And I got to give props to Edward's group. They created the presentation
Nicely
for us,
done.
so thank you.
Is the logo new? Because the logo looks great.
Not new.
No, it's not new.
Not new, just
First time I've seen it.
just in a better environment.
For the record, Nancy McCormick, I just have a question for you, Dr. Hilgerson or the team. I'm curious about whether you're actively recruiting from Sierra Nevada Job Corps to get students to enroll as they get their high school equivalency or other skill sets out of Job Corps. Oftentimes, because many of them are from Las Vegas, they go back to Las Vegas. So I'm wondering if we're capturing them somehow.
I don't know, but I wonder if.
Yes, we do.
There
Yes,
you
we
go.
do. We have a strong collaboration with them.
Awesome. And one of
So
the.
that's
Right,
exactly
that's
what
great.
we should be doing. Those are the
Yeah.
right questions, yeah.
And so is there, Milt, do you have an interest in, I wonder if it's time for you or the appropriate staff member of Nevada Works to meet with one of our advisors, one of our recruiters, and just to get a refresh on some of the new programs that we're doing. And I would be remiss if I didn't also mention EPIC, which does some of the Hobby Lobby Fun Community Learnings, but also does the non-credit workforce stuff. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to have that conversation. As part of the strategic planning, I was tasked with trying to assess whether our existing staff had the capacity to really start moving this forward.
Right.
And the board recognized that I needed some help to do this. So I recently hired a strategic projects director who will be my right-hand person for this. Her name is Parvana. And so I would have, if we can connect her, your team with Parvana and have those conversations. Absolutely.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns? So we're really excited. We're not stopping with the funding. We owe is not enough, and so to really do and be impactful. So this Good Jobs Challenge grant is a step in the right direction. This incumbent worker training, we've applied for 3 other grants and really looking to see how we can, improve this delivery service throughout our region. So really excited. Thank you.
All right.
At rest upon a record. Thank you, Milt. Appreciate the presentation. And again, just reminding everybody, save the date, October 20th, correct?
Yeah, I'll make sure that we get that out. Yeah.
Yeah, would love to see everybody there. I think, again, this is part of us, as us as a group trying to do better collaboration, being in this space. Thank you, Milt, again, for that great presentation. All right, Moving on to item 9B of the agenda, and we are going to get an Eastview update from Gretchen Sawyer. So Gretchen, take it away.
Thank you. If you could just have it ready to go, because I'll just introduce it. Yeah. Good morning, Gretchen Sawyer for the record. Milt, that was excellent presentation, great
Thank you.
overview. We're so excited to work with you on the Jobs Challenge grant.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I am excited to talk to you a little bit about Eastview. So some of you have heard about this project, Nancy, I'm looking at you, for a number of years. And it has really evolved into a really exciting, dynamic building that will serve so many students and programs and be so beneficial for our students, faculty, the community. And so we have put together a video, just about 6 minutes, and it was created by our architect, Van Wert Bugatti, and it really sells the project more than what any of us can try to explain to you. So first, I will show you the video, and then we can talk a little bit about where we are with the project.
Welcome to Eastview at Truckee Meadows Community College, the college for the new Nevada. This signature facility will help Northern Nevada students keep pace with an economic revolution, changing the way we work and play in fantastic ways. As big data and robotics transform the economy, 50% of the jobs we know today will be lost to automation made possible by exponentially increasing computing power. Eastview will prepare our students today for the careers of tomorrow. As we enter Eastview, you can see a vision of TMCC's future. Its students are the visionaries who will learn and grow here. This is not just a building. It is a space defined by 2 eyes: integration and innovation. Seeing the world as an integrated whole through bold connections, we can teach students to unlock their capacity for innovation, assisted by great learning spaces. Eastview is a nexus of movement as students engineer competition robots, build theater sets, choreograph dances, write code, create digital art, make music, and cook upscale cuisine. As TMCC is a designated Hispanic-serving institution, we invite all into Eastview that emphasizes belonging and teamwork. As we enter Action Link, you see an area that integrates and connects. It brings together industry leaders, faculty, and students to demonstrate and learn how robotics and AI are changing Northern Nevada, particularly in entertainment areas including hospitality and tourism, culinary arts, and performing arts. This space will provide students with the skills to become experiential problem solvers, incorporating logical reasoning to prepare the Northern Nevada workforce. Eastview's coding labs are designed with interactive writable surfaces and ample room for innovative ideation that promotes creative and clever thinking. Another vital component to Eastview is the Tech and Sound Lab, which is connected to the theater, another beautiful space in the building. Cutting-edge labs will support new certificate programs for stage technicians who operate sound, lighting, scenic effects, and visualization software, all areas of job growth. Technology flows into the culinary space with new robotic technology. Eastview does not neglect the much-needed expansion of hospitality and tourism defined by the great restaurants, hotels, and casinos of Northern Nevada. The Culinary Institute features an outdoor dining terrace, advanced kitchen facilities, and demonstration kitchen. Eastview expands TMCC's well-respected culinary arts program with the addition of the Sierra Culinary Institute, along with additional degrees and offerings in baking and pastry, advanced culinary, and food science. Intentionally located near the main entrance, a new 90-seat restaurant will elevate students' culinary service and skill. The Community Learning Kitchen will invite students, faculty, restaurant entrepreneurs, and industry leaders in. This space will even house workshops for foodies who want to take their creativity to the next level. They will also have capacity to host regional competitions, social events, and seminars. How will automation change the way people work and manage restaurants, hotels, and casinos? How will the integration of artificial intelligence, robots, and fingertip apps change the work of our chefs, our hotel managers, and the entertainment industry in general? Visit Eastview and the answer will be clear: integration. TMCC's digital natives were born in a world that is integrated, defined by the systemic and relational connections at the heart of our emerging economy. Eastview will feature dedicated facilities for teaching the business of hospitality. To support and grow the Hospitality and Tourism Management degree program, students will have hands-on practice in service, safety, and professional skills. Proximity to culinary and technology spaces affords faculty and students the opportunity for interdisciplinary collaboration. TMCC's engineering students will thrive in the new economy that includes Tesla, Panasonic, Amazon, Switch, Apple, Google, and more. They will learn to code for a visual world, whether that's a global online game like Fortnite or intuitive applications that summon an Uber driver or make personal banking easier. If ActionLink is the brain of the building, the eyes and the heart are found in Eastview's performing arts spaces. What does theater have in common with engineering? Creativity, critical thinking, teamwork, technology. Here in the Scene Shop, theater tech and engineering students will design and build stage sets. This area highlights again the collaboration between programs that is at the heart of Eastview: innovation and integration. Eastview's theater will provide a permanent home for TMCC's performing arts program. Guests are drawn into a venue of tiered seating around a dynamic stage to experience a wide variety of innovative performances. Eastview is an innovative STEAM concept with an integrated focus. It honors the work of TMCC students motivated to succeed despite challenges or humble beginnings. Eastview, the gift to TMCC that will keep giving.
Wow. Every time I see that video, I just get more excited and inspired. So how do we make this happen? Well, as you can imagine, it's quite an expensive project. When we started the project, it was a lot less than it is today. Today, it's $60 to $65 million. So for us to move forward, we absolutely have to get funding from the state of $30 to $40 million. And so we're hopeful. There's ARP funds out there that are being distributed now. So we're working, trying to get on the agenda for the interim finance committee. And actually on Monday when the governor was here, pitched to the governor. So we're really hopeful that we'll get funding because that is critical for us to move forward. But we do have some other funding sources that we're looking at. Private contributions, of course, through the foundation. We did a feasibility study during COVID, and the results were confident that we could raise $5 million in private support. We have $20 million in bond financing, a maximum that we could absorb, as well as a possible EDA grant, another EDA grant. That's more of a last dollar funding opportunity, and then our contingency funds, which this would be last resort, but so you know, we've already received $1 million from NSHE that has helped us with all the planning for the project and really to help get it shovel ready. So we were just really excited to be able to share with you this most recent video, this beautiful flyer that we have with the information about it. So now we're just waiting on state funding, and then if we could move forward on this project, it would be so transformative for the college and for the community. Does anyone have any questions?
I have an addition, that's okay.
Go ahead.
So Karen Hilgerson for the record. So this project is in effect on hold until we get a significant contribution from the state. And there are two ways that we can see at this point to get that. The one way is the release of ARP funds, And we were delighted to see that both the University of Nevada, Reno and University of Nevada, Las Vegas recently received, and I think it was like 75 million each for public health facilities. And so, which was great because that was the first time that the IFC, with the governor's support, started releasing funding for capital. They had been reluctant to do so prior to that, even though we were sharing examples with the governor's staff of capital projects being funded with the same dollars in other states, including a culinary institute in a state back east. I forget which one it was, but, and so I think it is appropriate for the governor and the interim finance committee to release $150 million to the 4 two-year colleges for the facilities that we need, particularly the ones like this, which are designed for economic development and job creation. And so when we look at the ARP track, we are now officially asking for a minimum of 40 million, just so you know, because with 40 million, we would try to avoid a bond. If we did get a bond, it would be relatively small, and the new market tax credit would be structured into the bond, and at the 7-year mark, some of that would be forgiven. Actually, quite a bit of that could be forgiven through the new market tax credit, and we are in a proper zone because we live near Sun Valley, which is one of the, Dandini lives near Sun Valley, which is one of the new market tax credit low-income zones, okay? The second track is the more traditional track, and that is that we work for the annual project that the state gives to NSHE. It has not gone to TMCC since 1996. I think part of our problem and our struggle is we're a mid-sized college. We're not small enough to where we are pitied, but we're not big enough to be to be given a new building. So I sadly, I'm not really hopeful for that other tract. I just don't see a process to assist TMCC with that, and there's a lot of competition, of course, from all of the NSHE institutions who do have excellent projects also standing in line for that more traditional track. So our best hope is really ARP dollars, and again, at this point, when we handed the governor a similar flyer, but there was one difference on it. It didn't say 30 million state contribution, it said ARP request at the top, and it said 40 million request. So that's the other thing on the financing side. In order to do a capital campaign, Gretchen needed to have some kind of a financing plan because donors want to see that. They need to understand how all the pieces will fit together. All right, thank you.
Edward Estepona for record. Do we have any questions or comments around this presentation from anybody in the group? Okay, really great project. And just to be clear, this is going to be on this campus just down the road here, right? Location-wise. Okay.
Right behind Jeff.
I just was wanting to be clear. I thought I saw that, but I was like, I'm a little new still, so I'm still figuring out my bearings, where everything's at.
Well,
Thank
we
you.
have a new parking lot just east of here, so it'll be situated right at that parking lot, which is perfect.
Right,
Yeah.
thank you. Great project. Thank you for your presentation, Gretchen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we are now moving on to item number 10, which is our listening session. This is really, something that we do on our regular meeting with the IAC council members and just kind of get an overall takeaway from what we learned today and maybe things to talk around that. So at this point, we'll open that up to any member at this point for any conversations.
This is Milt Stewart. During our last meeting, I had mentioned that the Department of Labor has definitions for work-based learning, so I printed those out and I'd like to distribute those.
Definitely,
Maybe for
please
the
do so.
conversation. Yeah.
Please do so. Anybody else have any comments?
Joe Nanini for the record. Gretchen, thank you for the presentation. I am personally thrilled to see that we're talking about a permanent home for theater and performing arts. I think that is well overdue.
Yes. Any other comments from any of the other members?
Are you on the takeaway part?
Yes,
Oh.
I am at the takeaway part.
I-
Go take away.
Lauren Hilgerson for the record. I thought, I just really appreciated the Nevada Works presentation. I think that it's exciting, the extra funding. I really see how Nevada Works could kind of be the, like you said, not just the convener, but also, I'd like to think of things in a spider web, right? And you could almost be the hub for the communication and the synergy. And so I'm very grateful. And for me, that was eye-opening because again, I had talks with your predecessor, I've had talks with you, but to see it so visual really, really helped me today. And I have all kinds of notes for my team to see how we could, now that there are some resources available, to really, I think we have a strong partnership, but to strengthen it even more. And I think that could really benefit our community. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for allowing me.
Yeah.
Thanks.
For the record, Nancy McCormick. So I am on the board of the Nevada Works as well, and I just wanted to give kudos for the amount of strategic planning, very, very focused strategic planning that has taken place to really implement a new vision for Nevada Works and how it can serve the community. And just congratulations to Milt for, number one, getting the grant, because I know that took a lot of time and effort, but also for really redirecting Nevada Works and leading the charge for imagining what more they could do and how they could do it better. So his openness to change and to really taking in all input in order to make good decisions and determine a path forward is to be commended.
Thank you.
For the record, Sesh Kumari. First and foremost, thanks very much for the presentation from the Nevada Works. There are a couple of things that I found very interesting. I wasn't too familiar with the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act and the work that you guys are doing under that. That's really very eye-opening. And the Good Jobs Challenge Grant Program, under which you guys are doing that, and the funding from DETR. I think those are very critical elements, and I think I'm so glad to see what you guys are doing. Coming back to President Hilgerson's presentation, I see there are three major challenges that are coming up in the coming year. The first one that I see is enrollment challenge, getting students back. A lot has changed in the last 2 years, and I see even at UNR we have the same issue. How do we get back the students to the classrooms? The other challenge I see is the nature of students itself has completely changed. Post-COVID, the kind of students that are coming in, their temperament, their readiness, academic readiness is completely different. It's shot. If we thought 2 years ago, the standards for incoming students were kind of difficult, now it's outright impossible. And we have a really big challenge, at least I know at UNR. Earlier, we had to help the students catch up to at least 2 years of high school before they were ready for college. And we still had to complete 4 years of instruction in the time that we have. So we're trying to cram in 6 years worth of effort into 4 years. And I'm sure that it's no different at TMCC. We're going to have similar kind of issues. So that's one big challenge, and I have no answer, but there's something that, if there's something I could help with, I would be more than happy to have that discussion. The second one is the unfortunate one. Everybody's facing this financial crunch. It's the reality of times that we are living in, and 17%, or even if it's 12%, still 12% is 12% we don't have. And especially with inflation and costs going up, this is going to be a serious challenge. The third challenge that I see is the changing nature of the workforce. So the requirements for industries and employers has changed dramatically in the last 5-10 years. So what do we need to do to address that? One of the good things that you talked about is upskilling of existing labor force. But again, when I talk to lots of people out there who are looking for either to move up or to find new jobs, I really don't see them thinking in the new paradigm where they're looking at new skills and what to do. They're still in the old mindset. We want to find a new job that is paying more rather than what do I need to do to get more salary. So that is again a conversation we need to have. There's no answer because we're all dealing with this the first time, but I'd be happy to help in any way I can. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Edward S. Ponafarka, thank you, Sesh. Anyone else?
Sangdao Yang Kyo for the record. First off, I am very just thankful and appreciative for the presentations today. I found them very helpful for me to situate. I'm still new to the Reno area, but also to this team here. And I appreciate what was just shared because one of the, I take very, I take this role very seriously. In particular representing Washoe County School District, because I do believe that our students feed into this pipeline, and it is incumbent upon us as the adults in the system to help create a rigorous, safe, respectful learning environment so that our students can thrive in the, really from birth through career. And so I just want to make that commitment from Washoe County School District that I am here to learn as much as possible. I would be happy to have our team meet with members on this team and of course with TMCC to learn more about how we can strengthen alignment so that we can prepare students to be successful after they graduate from high school. And not just academically, but really social-emotionally, and being prepared to enter the workforce if that's what they choose to do. And so I want to offer that. I also want to offer one of the challenges that we have currently within Washoe County School District is that we have a pipeline issue. And so I do actually think that's something that I'm also interested in figuring out how do we create a win-win for all these different players at the table, in the sense that we absolutely need educators in Washoe County School District and across the state. There is a national shortage of that. In addition, we are desperate to hire nurses, school counselors, psychologists. When I just think about our pipeline issues, I do actually think this is an opportunity for us, again, to strengthen alignment and really to train and homegrown individuals who will then feed and power our system. And so those are just some of the ideas that I am interested in learning more about, and so I would welcome partnerships with members of this team to help me just be brought up to speed. And one thing that I will say too is I'm thinking about, so thank you for that presentation, because I'm thinking about work-based learning and apprenticeships and internships and just in general, opportunities for our really pre-K through 12 students to understand the opportunities that they have available to them before they even graduate from high school. And so any way that we could strengthen those partnerships and again, strengthen alignment so that a student who goes through elementary, middle, high school, and then enters, for example, TMCC, actually sees some type of alignment and there's coherence so that we're having a shared understanding of what opportunities are available to them. I will do anything I can to support you all. So
Great
thank
that
you
you're
so
here.
much.
I'm so excited.
I'm really excited.
Ellen and I are taking you out to lunch.
Okay. And the last I will say is please be gracious with me. There's a lot for me to learn at the higher ed level, and so my training and expertise is really in, which is where I'm at. And so there's a lot for me to learn about higher ed in particular, but I am deeply interested in helping to bridge what might be a gap for some of our students.
At Nancy.
Nancy McCormick for the record. One thing we haven't really shared or talked much about in this forum, and I just want to make sure everyone knows about it, is the challenge that Edon, CEO, made to the community about a year ago to have robotics and coding in every school in the Washington County School District by the end of 2023. It might be interesting to have someone from Nevada Robotics come and speak to one of these meetings. Nevada Robotics, as part of DRI, is the lead entity on that, but I don't know the exact numbers that I can quote, but it's somewhere around 580 teachers that have been provided with training for how to integrate robotics and coding into schools. And this all goes back to your point really about the importance of STEM and exposing students to the new realities of what the types of companies are that are locating here, and to everyone's point that the diversity of opportunities and the complexity of some of those types of positions from an engineering standpoint in particular, both mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, as you probably know, but I'll just share that we're really seeing an emergence of a battery technology cluster in Northern Nevada with a number of the companies that are out at the Industrial Center, also currently working with the University of Nevada, Reno. So there's never been such a huge transformation, to your point, of the types of STEM-based jobs that are out there and the skills that are going to be needed. So we want to make sure that we are helping to support the pipeline at the lowest level possible in order to meet those needs of the jobs that are here now and in the future.
Marissa Brown for the record. Hearing the challenges that we have, as you all know, with workforce, I think it's going to be really important that we engage in the legislature this year to make sure that our legislators hear what that means to all the industries in Nevada. And just wanted to share something with you that the Nevada Hospital Association is doing for K through 12. We are partnering with a video company to do short little snippets on TikTok of healthcare careers that don't necessarily require a degree. You know, you can get a certificate, which is a lot of what TMCC has moved towards, and I'm so excited to see the changes in TMCC just since I've been on this committee and the direction that they're going. So that's been really exciting for us. And we've worked, I just want to also commend MELT and Nevada Works because we've had funding from them since 2010 for workforce grants, and the hospitals have really benefited from those programs. I mean, we've been able to provide supportive services for folks and really fill some of the workforce gaps that the hospitals had, and work with TMCC to steer students in those directions for the certificate programs. And then we also provide supportive services and work with the employer for those new nurses, those new grad nurses, and the employer receives 25% of their salary over a period of 12 weeks to help subsidize that orientation. So great work with Nevada Works, and thank you.
All right, Edward Espona for record. Anyone else before I give my 2 cents? Steve.
Steve Reed for the record. First of all, I wanted to just comment on the Eastview project. That looks spectacular, and I'm very hopeful that you get the funding you need, and obviously anything we can do or I can do to help out in any way to bring light to that, I would be happy to do. Second of all, I had heard of Nevada Works before, but I didn't really know what it was, so I appreciate that presentation. And I guess the only thing I know to do at this point, having learned what I learned today, is to engage my company with Nevada Works to see how we can participate as a company, and then how I might be able to help support as a member of this group. So, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else? All right, Edward Espona for the record. I had a couple takeaways. First one of the most non-obvious one to me that it's interesting because Milt talked about this branding of employee envy. I think that's going to be super important, honestly, to have that global state brand, because we have people going back and forth, north-south, rurals to urban. The idea that I would understand where I go for training, or I would understand where I go for jobs in a centralized brand, I can't say that enough. I mean, oftentimes the state likes to create new names just for the heck of it, just because they want to be different from north or south. And I think, which really leads to my next thought on this, is that I think more so than any time before, we need to work really hard at collaborating these silos. And I'm, you know, I've been in workforce development, but in this space where you're involving now multiple parties, whether it's the nonprofit, for-profit, or government sectors. I've only been in it for roughly 5 years, and one of the things I've come to understand with it is that there tends to be these silos between all these organizations, turf, so-called, and we, you know, Shesh basically said, we have limited resources. We understand that. Now's the time we have to really come together with those limited resources and be more efficient. And my final take is, oddly enough, goes back to the subcommittee that's being formed to figure out how we are going to proceed as an organization moving forward. I would like to see this type of conversation, what we're doing with the takeaway, more often. I know that there's a lot of important reporting that needs to happen, but I also think that there needs to be space for this, because I think for us to have these collaboration, it's hearing this kind of things. Now, the other thing I took away is that there's a theme going on, is that there's a lot of people already in this room working together, and it's just doing that more efficiently. So I'm just excited to be part of this group. I think it's a great group, and we're not really competing. To me, it's like we're not competing against Las Vegas or anybody else. I always look at this as we're competing against the world. So we need to really pull together. It's our problems. I mean, I think we're prime, and you know, it's interesting. People say, you got problems. It's a good thing to have problems, because that means you're growing. When you don't have problems, you have different kinds of problems. The problems we are been talking about is all growth-related problems, which is a good problem to have, which is the opposite problem from the housing market crash, which is not too far ago. And then finally, I think if there is, the big R word does come, recession, I believe to address some of these students as far as coming back, I think that is also going to help for retraining. I've always seen that historically, that's happened. And last but not least, I'd say challenges tied to these students coming into the system, whether it's K through 12 or community colleges or university level. I do believe the next big pandemic or challenge we're going to have for the next few years is mental health. And I think that's where all these challenges are coming back when you say, are they prepared? Are they ready? It really is a mental health thing. With that said, I've said my piece. I'll get off my soapbox. At this point, I would like to move us, if there's no more comments from the takeaways, I'd like us to move us to section 11, which is the new business. Is there any new business anybody would like to bring up at this point?
Actually, it's not new business, but it's something I should have included in my report, and I forgot, and it's a big deal, so I shouldn't forget. But October 12th through 14th is our Northwest Accreditation visit. And this is a 7-year visit. Visitors will come to our campus. I almost said descend, but that sounded kind of weird. They'll come to our campus. They'll spend a couple of days with us. They'll close on Friday morning. We're very prepared. I'm very proud of the self-study report that we submitted. I think they'll have a really good time, and I think they'll like what they see. In that, they might actually reach out probably to BJ North at some point, and other IAC members, to have a conversation with all of you, for those who've been on the board for a while, about how this body connects with industry. So, all right, thank you. I was remiss for not bringing that up.
And Edward, that's part of the record. I would also like to bring up that I'm like I said, I'm fairly new. This is probably my 4th meeting now since I've joined on. And there are other new members as well. I would love it if those of us that are interested love to take a tour of the whole TMCC. system. I think part of that is it's a lot easier for me to understand a lot of these complicated subjects when I see what you're doing. So I'd like at some point, before the end of the year, and it's definitely before the students go away on semester break, I'd love to be able to see, get us a time scheduled for those that want to do this. That's just my take on that.
There are 4 campus locations, but if we can.
We could all go to 4.
We can do it in a morning.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if we had a morning and figured out some of those commute times, we could get it done.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is Reno. We can still get there in 15, 20 minutes.
That's right.
Minus construction.
That's a great
Thank
idea.
you. All right. With that, if there's no other new business, I'd love to move us back to public comments. And I will read this comment. Public comments will be taken during this agenda item. No action may be taken on matter raised under this item until the matter is included on the agenda as an item of which action may be taken. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes per person. Persons making comments will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name. The council chair may elect to allow additional public comment on specific agenda item when the agenda item is being considered. Melissa, do we have any public comments? Not seeing any, then we're moving to item 13, which is adjournment. So at this point, thank you everybody for joining. Appreciate your time and your efforts and brain power to all of this stuff. And I look forward to actually applying more brain power into some of these challenges that we have. So thank you again, and BJ can have her seat back next time.
When is the next meeting?
The next meeting, November 10th.
November 10th.
Same time, same place.
Okay, very good.